welcome to SULKNATIONtv. In today's episode, we're going to be discussing the three areas that BMW got right with this first generation Mini. Now, this is an R53, so not all of the things I talk about are going to be R50 or R52 specific, but there will be a little bit in there. There'll be a little bit in there that's all right, that kind of goes across all first generation Minis. So number one, well, that's the fact that BMW decided to supercharge this car rather than turbocharge like many of its contemporaries. If we think about Fiesta STs, if we think about Honda Civics, which obviously are naturally aspirated, a lot of cars that came out at the same time as this Mini hot hatch, the choice to supercharge it was genius. Not only did it stand it out from the crowd, supercharging a car generally is far more based in an American market than we see over in the UK. And for this car to be released with a supercharger, the Mini Cooper S R53, it's a genius move. It truly is. It's such an engaging car because it's supercharged. There aren't many cars that you could pick up for the price I picked this up for, which was pretty cheap, that have so much going on when it comes to sound and movement and speed and drivability. And it was a genius move. It really was. I like turbocharged cars. Who doesn't? But having a supercharged car, it's a completely different scenario to a turbocharged car, and it's different. It makes this car stand out even more. You know, the supercharger combined with how the car looks just stands it out amongst its contemporaries. It really does. You know, you've got styling that harks back to, you know, eras past with the original small Minis. You know, they stood out at the time. This stood out at the time. You know, when the R53 went into production in 2002, it looked completely different to the other cars at that time, the cars that it would be competing with. They're all quite boxy. This is quite smooth and shapeful and rounded. And having it supercharged, market leader. It's there at the top of the tower of fun, because you know, you get that whine, that supercharger whine, which is as soon as you put your foot on the throttle, you get that whine kicking in. Imagine a car in this price bracket, especially today. So, you know, a year ago, I bought this car and it cost me, let's exclude any of the maintenance I've done to it or the upgrades I've done to it. When I bought it, it was £1,120. Name another car that was released at the same time as this. This is a 2005 facelift R53. A 2005 car that looks as good, is as enjoyable to drive, and essentially is still creating an atmosphere for people to want to buy them and get in them. And most of that's down to the supercharger. It's supercharged, and it cost me £1,000 to get a supercharged performance car. I mean, that's amazing. Number two, yeah, I may have already mentioned a little bit about it whilst I was talking about the supercharger, but the exterior features of this car, absolutely right thing to do. It's a contemporary look at how a Mini would be in the 2000s, with the rounded features at the front of the car, the way the bonnet just sort of, you know, sweeps along. The fact that the sides of the car have got this really lovely, smooth sort of transition from top to bottom. The whole car looks like a treat. You just look at it and go, it looks like a Mini. If Minis were going to be designed at the point they were and brought back to life by BMW, this is what they were going to look like, and they did look like that. And the exterior styling is stunning. The Cooper S, the R53, having its dual tailpipe exhaust, center fixed for those exhaust tips, looks excellent. From the back of the car, it's a stunning view. The front of the car, those rounded features, that contemporary take on what the Mini should look like in the 2000s, it pulls it off. It pulls it off 100%. The grille at the front is reminiscent of original Mini. The shape of the headlights are reminiscent to the original Mini. It's a contemporary but historical look, and I'm a big fan of it. I think these cars look amazing. And, you know, it's certainly a car that is a bit of a head turner, and it is definitely the sort of car that when you park it up in a car park, you know, say you're going to go and do your Sainsbury's shopping, you park your car and then you have to look over your shoulder to see it. Every single time I park it up, I glance over my shoulder at it and go, such a good looking car. And it is. You've got a relatively small windscreen. The way it sits building into the roofline, it works perfectly. It's a small car by modern standards, but it's a big car compared to original Minis. And that's no bad thing. I know there's a lot of Mini lovers out there that are all about the original and these are too big and bulbous, but they're not. Compare it to a contemporary car, a Fiesta or a Honda Civic. I do like Honda Civics, but that's another story. Those sort of cars, even let's give it a hands down win, a Vauxhall Corsa. This car, it's the same sort of size. It's not the roomiest inside, but the exterior of the car is about the same size, and it's probably a little bit wider than those cars as well. And that brings me to number 3. The handling of this car is excellent for a car in this price bracket, especially, obviously it's in the second-hand car market now, because this one's 15 years old and this is a facelift model. So with that being said, this car handles superbly. I've got the Sports Plus suspension that I'm pretty sure came as standard with an R53, a facelift R53. If anybody knows, I'm sure you'll leave a comment. The handling with stock suspension is great, and that's down to the design of having each wheel on the corner of the car. There's nothing really overhanging the wheels at the front or the back, so of course you're going to be looking at excellent handling. With the general size of the car, the wheelbase is deceptively big. The distance between the front and back wheels is bigger than you'd imagine, because they are at the right at the front and right at the back of the car. And taking this car and being able to increase speed going around corners is one of the best, most fun things you can do in this car, coupled with the supercharger whine. As you're taking a corner and you can accelerate out of that corner because this car can just handle it, it's incredibly fun. And obviously, with this car being set up to essentially be customizable, it's here and you can put performance mods on it. It's cheap to increase the ability of the supercharger in comparison to upping how a turbocharger is going to develop performance. There's little things you can do to increase an already great platform, and it's not going to cost you the world to do. And that's because BMW did so well with the development and design of this car. The platform is excellent to build upon. Yes, all right, you're limited in the amount of horsepower you can get generally because you've got a supercharger. There's a ceiling, and there's more of a ceiling than you'd find with turbocharged cars, but everything about it's just such a well thought out concept. And it had to be. If you're going to bring back such an iconic badge, such an iconic manufacturer, then you've got to make sure that what you're bringing to the market is excellent. It's going to compete, but it can't just compete. It has to be leading in areas of where the car is going to sit. So in the mini hot hatch world of the early 2000s, this definitely not just competed, but in my mind, won. So thank you, BMW. Thank you very much. You've been splendid. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's been probably, judging by the editing, it'll probably be quite a short one. And that's mainly because it's raining. So it's kind of hampered what I was going to do video-wise. Because it's not just raining, it's absolutely bucketing it down. So yay for that. And until the next time, I've been me, you've been you, and well done for that.